Good morning, everyone. Commissioners, First Assistant Chief Choi, Mr. Sibley, Madam Secretary, Inspector General Matthew Barragan, Mr. City Attorney Carlos de la Guerra, and members of the public. This is Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. It is 9:30 a.m. This is a regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Please let the record reflect that Commissioners Sanchez Gordon, Southers, Shields, Garcia are present, and we have a quorum. Madam President?
Thank you. We welcome everyone attending this meeting. All public comment will be heard during item 2 on the agenda. We will dedicate a total of 45 minutes to public comment. Members of the public will have 1 minute per agenda item for a maximum of 2 minutes total. At the request of the speaker will be given 1 additional minute for general public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes total. Members of the public, if you choose to participate in the public comment portion of the agenda, you can. You can participate in this meeting in a number of ways outlined on the agenda. Members of the public who participate in public comment are reminded that they can speak to any item on the agenda or a matter within the jurisdiction of the Board of Police Commissioners. Public comment is your opportunity to address the board, so you are free to express your opinion on matters before the board and to generally express when you disagree with other opinions expressed. However, directing your comments to other individuals who have spoken or attacking others who have expressed their opinions shall be deemed off topic, and your public comment period will be concluded. Message to those attending the meeting in person. These meetings are regular meetings between the board, the department, and key stakeholders. Meetings of the Board of Police Commissioners are open to the public. The state's Ralph M. Brown Act afford the public the opportunity to be present at the meetings, hear the presentations, and dialogue in real time, and provide feedback via public comment period. During these meetings, there is a need for the board to carry out the public business expeditiously without delays or disruptions. Members of the audience shall not engage in any conduct which causes an actual disruption of the meeting. Those attending in person are reminded that disruptive behavior will be cause for removal. If you disrupt this meeting, you will be provided only 1 warning to cease disruptive behavior. If you fail to cease such behavior, you will be removed from the meeting. All attendees must be seated. Failure to follow this rule will result in a warning and/or removal of the meeting. With that, we move to item number 2, the report of the Chief of Police, Chief Choi.
Thank you. And good morning, President Sanchez Gordon, Vice President Southers, Commissioners, Inspector General Barragan, City Attorney De La Guerra, and Executive Director Sibley. Today I'll be covering key events from the past week, sharing our latest crime trends, and providing an update on our staffing levels. So on Thursday, September 25th, we held our Above and Beyond Awards ceremony hosted by Howie Mandel. This year's ceremony carried special significance as it marked the 100th anniversary of the department recognizing those who go above and beyond the call of duty. The event took place at the Bonaventure Hotel and was made possible through the generous support of our Los Angeles Police Foundation. This year, we are proud to recognize 7 officers who received one of the department's highest honors, the Medal of Valor, awarded for extraordinary bravery and heroism in the face of imminent danger. 4 officers were honored with the Preservation of Life Medal, which highlights their efforts to protect and save lives under the difficult and often dangerous circumstances. We also presented 4 Purple Hearts, given to those who have sustained a serious injury or made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. And we also awarded our 2nd ever Liberty Award to a canine partner who was shot while courageously serving alongside our officers. And it was great to see so many of you and so many people that were in attendance joining us in celebrating the courage, sacrifice, and dedication of our officers. I'm also pleased to say that we had no officer-involved shootings or categorical uses of force during this previous week. On September 23rd, uniformed patrol officers responded to Southwest from Southwest Division responded to a radio call of an assault with a deadly weapon suspect. The comments of the call indicated that the suspect was breaking vehicle windows, attempting to strike people with rocks, and had set a palm tree on fire. The Los Angeles Fire Department was also en route to this location. Upon the officers' arrival, they encountered the suspect, who immediately ran into the garage of the residence and emerged armed with a machete. Officers gave numerous commands for the suspect to drop the weapon, but he refused to comply and continued advancing towards them. Southwest officers deployed multiple less lethal options, including a taser, 40 millimeter rounds, and beanbag shotgun rounds, but all of these were ineffective. The suspect eventually retreated back into the garage, barricading himself inside and refusing to come out. Due to the ongoing threat and his refusal to surrender while armed, SWAT was requested to the scene. After establishing communications, negotiators were able to convince the suspect to exit the garage, and he was taken into custody without further incident. The suspect was arrested for attempted assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer. And this is just one of many examples of the kinds of dangerous and potentially deadly situations our officers face every day. In this case, they used every tool available to them and worked together to de-escalate the situation, making sure it ended safely for everyone. These are the kinds of calls that rarely make the headlines, but they reflect the reality of police work. Officers relying on teamwork, training, and restraint to protect the community. I also want to talk about our Metro CIT teams. So our Metropolitan Crime Impact teams, or also known as CIT teams, continue to be a tremendous resource to the department and the city. Day in, day out, they use their skill set in locating and tracking down dangerous suspects, and their work is outstanding. Just this past week, in 1 week, their efforts in partnership with investigative units led to several significant arrests. Working alongside RHD Valley Homicide detectives, they located and arrested a suspect identified as an accessory to murder in Foothill Division. They also assisted our abused child unit detectives in 2 separate cases, helping to track down suspects wanted for heinous acts of sexual abuse against children. With Rampart Division robbery detectives, they helped identify and arrest a suspect wanted for armed robbery. And in another case, they apprehended a suspect wanted by the Kings County District Attorney in connection with a kidnapping and domestic violence case. These arrests are not the result of one team working alone, but the officers and detectives across multiple divisions working together. Our CIT teams are at the forefront of that effort, consistently helping to take violent offenders off the streets, but the success belongs to everyone involved. I'm proud of the teamwork displayed by all officers involved. Moving on to crime. For the 4-week period ending September 27, 2025, when compared to the prior 4 weeks, overall crime has shown a decline. Combined persons and property crimes are down 9.1%. Persons crimes are down 4%, or 73 fewer incidents, while property crimes are down 10.6%, or 646 fewer incidents. Looking specifically at homicides, the city has experienced a year-to-date decrease of 21.3% compared to 2024, with 48 fewer homicides. With victims shot year-to-date, citywide numbers remain down at 6.3%, a reduction of 48 victims compared to last year. Aggravated assaults have also seen a decline. For the 4 weeks ending September 27th, aggravated assaults are down 7.2%, and a reduction of 88 incidents compared to the previous 4 weeks. Robberies have seen a slight increase of 2.8%, with 15 more robbery incidents over the 4 weeks. Looking at the drivers of robberies, strong-arm robberies account for more than half of all the incidents, and robberies with a firearm make up 25.5% of the total. Firearms recovered citywide are also increased to 14.2% year-to-date compared to 2024. Burglary numbers show a downward trend overall. Over the 4-week period, burglaries are down 6.4%, or 47 fewer incidents. And finally, motor vehicle thefts show a consistent decline. With the 4-week period, motor vehicle thefts are down 10.5% compared to the prior 4 weeks. Our personnel strength is at 8,667. Our civilian personnel strength is at 2,543, and our reserves officers are at 344. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Chief Choi. Let me see what commissioners have questions. Vice President?
Thank you, Madam President. Chief, thank you for the report, and thank you again for acknowledging those officers who were awarded at the Above and Beyond Awards last week. Those videos were certainly compelling, and to the extent that any of those videos could be made public, it will certainly demonstrate the risk that these officers take, particularly those who were in the preservation of life category, because they went to extraordinary measures to de-escalate and take the situation under control. So again, just thank you for that. Those are the only comments that I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Shields?
Thank you, Madam President. And I echo Vice President Southers. Congratulations to the officers who were recognized, and I'm sorry that I was unable to attend that event. It's usually a terrific event every year. And thank you for the report about the significant arrests and the work that the department does on a daily basis. One thing that was, hitting our nation more recently was the attack on a church. In Michigan, is the department here doing anything? And we're just seeing rises of hate crimes and things like that. Is the department doing anything to ensure that, houses of worship are, don't come under attack in our city?
Absolutely. So anytime we stay very well tuned to national events, anytime something like this occurs, we reach out to our community partners, our faith leaders, and we provide extra patrol at all these locations of worship. We ensure that we have points of contact with people at each of these locations, and that they have contacts with their senior lead officers and their commanding officers within their areas and their bureaus. We not only provide security, but we want to make sure that these individuals feel that we are responsive and that they are secure. They have somebody they can reach out to if something happens.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Garcia?
Thank you, Chief. No questions.
Okay, thank you again, Chief. We move on now to public comment period. We have allotted 45 minutes to all items. Madam Secretary?
First up, we have William Good.
Good morning. So first off, Jim McDonald's not here today, but I just want to bring something to your attention. Apparently, you had 2 LAPD cops who got caught fucking on the job, right? Some Metro cops doing overtime, right? So they're getting paid time and a half to fuck on the job. And Chief McDonald's way of dealing with that is apparently now they have to FaceTime the watch commander every hour to prove that they're not fucking. This is the ridiculousness that we deal with. Now, this guy right here, I will say this. It's actually nice to have him here because he's the real chief. Chief McDonald has abdicated all his duties to him. That guy is just a doddering fool he's lost it. This is the guy who's really running the department. But I noticed that you were here about 3 weeks ago and you were telling Rasha how you guys have gone to great extremes to make sure you guys follow the restraining order that was issued by journalists against the LAPD, which eventually led to more court proceedings and more problems. But you said that you go to great extremes, and that's just a fucking lie. Right before you said that, a week before that, I was out here at a protest. I was literally about a football field away from the skirmish line when I was told, while I was wearing my press pass, that I had to move. I couldn't be there. They wanted me to send me somewhere where I wouldn't be able to see anything, even though I was a football field away from the action. And when I confronted them about it, they sent over their supervisor. And the supervisor said, well, you know what, that restraining order stuff, that doesn't apply today. And when I told him, hey, the restraining order specifically says that I do not have to leave when there's been given a dispersal order, he says, well, that doesn't apply today. So it's funny how you guys decide when you want to apply restraining orders. It's not up to you. It was up to the judge. It's up to you to follow the restraining orders. But you failed in that, and I went through it with a Hollenbeck gang unit supervisor, Vasquez, who was wearing his Speedy Gonzalez gang symbol, was supposed to be banned, while he was sitting there right next to Cuba wearing his gang symbol. Cuba, the guy who just shot somebody not so long ago, and then just 2 days ago, went and arrested the guy he shot. He went and arrested his twin brother. His family feels like you guys are harassing him, and I believe it. Anyway, Rasha, I sent you an email not so long ago talking about the use of force against journalists, how one journalist went to the hospital with broken ribs. Policy says that when you have that categorical use of force, there has to be a release of the body cam video within 45 days. We're on day 43. The journalist who was attacked has not been contacted yet. You guys better make sure you follow that, or else, again, Rasha, I'm really tempted to come to your house. I'm more focused on the president right now and coming to her house, and I will probably be there tonight because of the way you guys been fucking up. But Rasha, I'd like to see you follow through on that to make sure that that use of force is handled properly. Anyway, enjoy your day, guys.
Next, we have Jill on Zoom.
Hi, greetings, human and child trafficking enablers. I have to say that because we still have this cult that is in your town on L. Ron Hubbard Way, where there's a lot of things that are going on that have been reported on, saying that this type of stuff has been covered up over the years under your noses. You just talked about CSA, child sex abuse, in your town, but it's still going on, and you're not going after the people that are really doing it. I don't understand what it's going to take for you to get off your butts and do something and finally take some action and take what we've been saying seriously. All of us who've been calling in to warn you about this child trafficking cult of Scientology. I say that you are enablers because they continue to have events. They are going to have the Faith in Blue event that you're going to go to, and you're going to be standing side by side with them. You enable them by having them on your boards, having people within that organization that is disguised as a religion in there with you, and you're still continuing to go along with it, getting money for it, just like KTLA just took money to have run their ads. I would have to call them enablers of child trafficking and human rights abuses. I thought we stood with people that are being abused. This is absolutely disgusting. You did not go in and examine what was going on when that help sign. I'm still going to bring up that you did not go in under exigent circumstance and evaluate what was going on. That was egregious. You had a dereliction of duty. In addition to that, what I have to say is that you also have problems where you just don't even listen to what we're saying. You have problems in the country with the LDS Church. Well, the protesters are not like the person that did that atrocity on the weekend in Michigan. We are not like that. We want to stop abuse. We are not there to hurt people within that organization. We want people to be rescued and saved, and the babies and children to stop being abused. When are you going to stand up and do something about it? Do you have any morality? That's all I have to say. I'm very upset with you. You all should be ashamed with enabling it. Bye.
Next, we have Audit LA.
Thank you, and good morning. All items, please. I'm here to talk about the Faith in Blue event that's coming on. I have a printout here. Actually, I have stuff for the entire board to supplement my comments. But on October 11th, the thing is, it's normally held by Scientology, but this year they were clever. They know that we've been coming here, and so they moved it to a different church location, but you can see that it's them all over it. They are completely, it's Scientology at a different location. And, or like the previous caller said, we're here to advocate for the victims of Scientology. Hundreds have come forward. Many of them grew up as children in there. And we gave you a book I believe it was last week. I hope you've all had a chance to at least begin reading it. And I have a copy here, minus the letter. I have to still get the letter for Chief Choi, and it's part of our, also part of my presentation, and that's for his copy. We need you to understand what the victims have to say. And so that way you can stop, please, like at least look and pause until all this stuff has been evaluated. The papers I gave you is discussing safe pointing, Operation Snow White, and the different cases that are coming against Scientology in the courts, because we've asked you to look this up, and I don't know if you have or haven't, but I'm making it easier for you. I'm giving it to you. because it is disheartening to me as an advocate for victims to see that I'm finally getting victims to trust me enough to come and report. Okay, and then to see that next month you're all going to be having this Faith in Blue with Scientology. And so, yes, and that's just a photo op for them. That gives them legitimacy. They're like, look, LAPD's with us, so we're okay. And instead of looking at what's really going on. What's in that book is really what's going on. On the pages I'm sending you, that's what's really going on. What Laura FM, who could not be here today, who's come numerous times and talked about her situation, that's what's really going on. And I am begging you to stop your association with Scientology, get them off your CPAPs until this stuff has all been adjudicated. Let the victims come and have a sanctuary because they don't feel like they have a police department. They were never allowed to go to the police, okay? But Scientology uses the police and it makes, for their sake, but it makes it even harder for victims. So by you guys allowing this Faith in Blue event and that you're gonna show up with Scientology running it, you just made my job it's not a job, it's my passion as an advocate for the victims of Scientology. You just made it much harder because I don't know if anyone else is going to step up and try to tell their story. Can you please get your mind to the victims and not just the PR opportunities just because they're on your CPAPs? I am begging you. Thank you.
Next on Zoom, we have Steve Riley.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning. What items would you like to speak on?
All items, please.
Okay, 3 minutes.
The United States is a constitutional republic. Christ is king, and all lives matter. I'd like to commend Chief Choi for his report. It was outstanding. However, for the Above and Beyond event, I think it would be appropriate to either mention the names of the honored officers or put it on the lapdonline.org website. It's good for the public to see the sacrifice, the dedication, and the good work of the LAPD. It's very important. Now, last week I wasn't able to speak because it seems as though people in the room are being given priority. And that's really discriminatory. And there are people who cannot be there for different reasons. So it'd be great if we could be heard and given a fair chance to be heard. Now, I did read the 2024 Use of Force Year-End Review, and there are some things that came out to me that needed to be addressed. Do any of the commissioners, I can't see you now, all I can see is a black screen with the name Steve Riley, but do you know where the neighborhood engagement areas are? There are 11 as of December 7th, 2024. Where are they? And apparently they hold monthly public safety meetings. Monthly public safety meetings should be held in every basic car area. Every neighborhood, every community should be involved and included in community policing. I've brought this up before, but I'll keep bringing it up again. The other question is, what is the police commission doing to improve service to the public and to implement community policing? I suggest that you start looking division by division and seeing who are holding meetings, what basic cars are having meetings, how many meetings are there a month. That should be reported. Also, response times, division by division, should be reported to the public on LAPD website. That website is totally underutilized. I also want to call attention to page, I believe it was 68, and it talks about crime information by suspect. I have been asking for that for a long time. I think it's buried in that use of force review report, but you need to take a look at it and it needs to be publicized. It is showing that crime, as reported by the victims, has a certain demographic. People have been complaining about pretext stops and car stops, saying it has a disproportionate effect on Black and brown, which is ridiculous. Look at the crime information, not just the census data information. There's a lot more to say, but we only get 3 minutes. I am supportive of the police. God bless the LAPD and God save Los Angeles. Thank you.
Next, we have Andrew Graebner.
So let's start off with the chief's report, which will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes at every meeting. If it exceeds 3 minutes, you shall match the amount of time the chief takes. Regardless of how long the chief takes to give his report, everyone should be able to speak both in person and on the phone. Today, he took, according to my stopwatch, 6 minutes, 33 seconds, and 2 milliseconds. I'm going to go down to the millisecond here. So, that was a really long report. A lot of just unnecessary information. It's all about trying to paint the LAPD in a good light. Kind of like the consent agenda items that we got today. We've got multiple consent agenda items where you're going to pay this company to create a false narrative about what's going on in the LAPD to try to mislead the public into supporting you. I wonder who else is doing that kind of thing right now to try to mislead the control the narrative, mislead the public into supporting something that's bad. I think it might be the fascists in the White House. So, we have, let's see, they've got some donations to the Cumberland County Sheriff's Department. We should do some investigations into what's going on at that department. It's probably a lot of messed up shit there. We have a $2,800 for pressure washing at the exterior of the Olympic Area Community Station. No. We have, let's see. So we've got on the regular agenda, we've got some donation. We got a report on the robot dog, what you refer to as the quadruped unmanned ground vehicle. This is another tool that's being used to inflict violence on the community by the LAPD. It's widely opposed by the community. The only reason you have it is because the LA City Council is bought and paid for by the LAPPL. So, this is a really bad tool that should be disbanded. You should discontinue use of it. So, as it continues to be, the LAPD continues to assist ICE while MAGA McDonald, who's not here today, continues to lie about it and claim that you're not assisting ICE. McDonald's been skipping a lot of police commission meetings. Is he afraid to hear from the public, or what's going on there? So Errol, you know, City Council, you're so controversial, so problematic. City Council was too cowardly to actually vote for you. So they just used a technicality in the city charter to just say, oh, well, it's been 45 days, so he's automatically confirmed. But the community does not support you. City Council was too afraid to support you. You should just resign. Fuck you.
Next, we have Mirjam on Zoom. Mirjam, you're on.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, what items would you like to speak on?
All of them.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Thank you. I want to tell you what is currently happening on the sidewalks of LRH Way at the so-called Blue Building owned by the cult of Scientology. Elderly people who have signed away their lives to the cult for the next billion years are out there working round the clock. These people who can barely walk, yet they are pushed into back-breaking physical labor, grinding concrete, hauling equipment, working with heavy electric equipment without proper safety gear and sufficient rest. I want to ask you directly, is this even legal in the state of California to have elderly men and women working such grueling, unsafe shifts under these conditions? From what I have seen, inmates in California's prison system live with more privacy, more safety, and better conditions than these so-called volunteers in Scientology. The living quarters provided to them are subpar, overcrowded, and degrading. And out in public view, on the very sidewalks of Los Angeles, they are being exploited as free labor. This is not only an issue of public safety, it's an issue of human rights. I strongly urge this commission to order an unannounced inspection. See firsthand how these people are being housed. See the conditions they are forced to work under. Ask yourself, if another organization in this city treated its elderly this way, would it be tolerated? This is Los Angeles. We should not allow a powerful organization to get away with exploiting vulnerable people in plain sight. Please take action.
Okay, next we have Tran Son Ha.
Good morning, Police Chief, and good morning, everybody. So, I'm here today. I want the police, Los Angeles Police Department. I want you put my name in Tran Son Ha is in the police department. It will be changed a lot better for all American people and around the world. So this is very good for everybody, not for me. But please, if you're doing this, we don't have to fighting with everybody. We are America. So around the world too. Again, please help me. Put my name on the top of the police department. It will change very good for everybody. Thank you. Please help me share this information around for all American people and around the world. And thank you, Los Angeles Police Department. Thank you. So I here every Tuesday. Thank you very much.
Next we have Batman.
Yes, I want to speak on behalf of the minority, as I am the majority. My understanding is that on the basis of whether or not these allegations are true or not, that LAPD officers misusing devices surfaced recently in investigations also in the Valley Gang Unit. Is that true? I want to know. I want to know whether or not these civil rights violations occurred during the tenure of Mr. Southerser. Because there's some bad bunny going on around here, and I want to put an end to that, especially about the stalking officers. Why are officers stalking people? Is it for romantically involved situations? Is it similar to the idea when I once said, why are police officers fucking cadets? It has a similarity. But I want you to conclude whether or not I'm talking shit. Because, again, the injustice over injustice will not prevail. Because I am God. Isn't that interesting? I call myself a God. A goddamn God for one reason. Because I'm here to pray for you. Because in the language I comprehend under Cohen versus California, United States Supreme Court Judge, Mr. Harlan, said, one man's vulgarity is another man's, yeah, you know the last word, lyrics. I got lyrics. Matter of fact, I'm going to read it into the record because Mr. Southers loves this. Brandenburg versus Ohio, 395 U.S. 444. 1969.
You're off topic, Mr. Herman.
I'm in my non-agenda public comment, motherfucker. Stop interrupting me. Non-agenda public comment.
You're off topic. Move
I
on.
haven't even started,
Move on.
motherfucker.
Move on.
I have not started. All I said was Brandenburg versus Ohio.
Move on.
Why
It's
are
not
you
relevant. It's
interfering
not-
in
it's not-
my fucking public
It's not
comment?
relevant here.
No, it's relevant,
It's
you
not.
dirty nigger. I am talking about facts. I'm making a statement based on the United States Supreme Court, and you're in violation of my civil rights, my constitutional rights,
personal
as you
attacks are off
infringe
topic.
upon
Your
my
personal
right to
attacks
be
are-
heard, motherfucker.
Your personal attacks are off topic. Move on.
So back to save America. Let's go back to constitutional betterment, shithole. Bury the niggers. We intend to do our part.
Topic. You're off topic.
Give us our state rights,
No.
freedom for the whites.
Fine.
If I have to
Move
protect
on.
the citizens of Los Angeles, you motherfucker.
on.
I will
Move
make
on.
every motherfucking statement
on.
accurate and true. 42 U.S.C. 1983 politely. Fuck you. For the record. Thank you. Asshole.
Next, we have Big Amy.
All right, good morning. Start the timer without me being prepared. A typical LAPD secretary. First of all, I would like to talk about the one of the first speaker addressed. The first speaker talked about the LAPD officer having sex. It reminds me about one of the presentation about the recruitment department. They are saying that they are hiring the best of the best, the brightest of the brightest. So if every month that we are seeing a scandal, either someone getting a DUI, someone domestic violence, and this month is sex on the job, so that means something wrong about your hiring department. Hiring process, or something wrong with your recruitment process. What is wrong? No idea. Second of all is that I am aware of that Mr. Herman told me that our new president is the judge. So I don't know that if you know that in the courtroom there's only one bailiff as one deputy sheriff in the whole court. And then that one single deputy sheriff as a bailiff was able to make the full courtroom compliance with the law. They follow the order. But however, in this room, we are having 10, 15 LAPD officers. At the same time, I have still seeing on a regular basis the big group of people either clapping, either yelling, either moaning, either doing whatever. So it seems like one taxpayer is paying one single deputy sheriff, they can get the job done. But however, the taxpayers of Los Angeles are paying 10, 15 LAPD officers, they cannot make sure the room is quiet and complying with the law. That is a good big question mark. Third is about, I want to make sure all of our patrol officers understand there's a special there's a new product, it's called 0% Heineken. Because one of my classmates, Miriam, she was recently got pulled over by the LAPD, and then she has limited English skills. She doesn't really speak English, and then she was very frightened when she shares me with her experience because she was driving with a 0% Heineken. So on the label of the bottle is clearly stated 0% alcohol. So that means 0%. So I want to make sure, let's make sure every single patrol officer is aware of the special product. Let's just make sure, just see an open container. It does not mean automatically a DUI. Let's do a test first. Let's verify first instead of escalating immediately. Let's make sure everybody is aware there's something called a 0% Heineken right there. So I just want to make sure when you're being soft on the protester, they're going to continue to attack your city.
George Bazzetti. Okay. Smoke Skin. Jonathan Foster.
Hello, Jonathan Foster. I was lied to about Sancho Tina with Eric the Toilet. They wouldn't tell anybody who they were really picking for chief, but yet in the first 6 days they knew they were picking Sancho Tina. I didn't appreciate being lied to. 4A today, active bystander law enforcement. You know, Philip Tabby was that for 30 years, and then they offed Philip Tabby. Anytime you get into the meat of what goes on here wrong, you will get offed. That's what happened to Philip Tabby. He's a great guy, 30-year volunteer for the LAPD. The chief report today, you said they, on this guy with the big machete, they used a taser, 40 millimeter, and the beanbag. And my question is, where was the net gun? You said that they used everything that was available. Have you not heard that I've said you should use a net gun? Should I get through to you? And that you could order net guns and then they could shoot people with a net gun and they wouldn't have to kill anybody? That's why I'm the chief of police, not you. Because I save people's lives. I know you do the job. You're an awesome person. I get that. But I'm telling you something that could just minor little bit of money, and then nobody listens to a damn thing I say. The recent commission docket has no OIS today, and how? It's just so much OIS here, and you couldn't put one on the docket. That sounds kind of crazy. That seems impossible. And the one from last week, D. Morgan, it was a white guy. He had the gun. They put it in the back, but did you notice the reason they didn't shoot him? Is they knew it was fake. Then they got down the street and they shot through the windshield. Where did the bullets go? And then when they got up on the guy the first time, they were pointing the gun at the pool where there were children. They knew it was fake. There was a guy, he was on the ice, he was a guy who's 13 days in the basement at the detention location with no toilet paper, he had to sleep on the floor, and this I don't agree with as well. And Donald Trump should be kicked in the head for that. And they're, also they need to know where their loved one is. It costs you guys $23 million and more, and this guy owes the LAPD millions of dollars. And how much money is Wall Street president making off of illegal aliens? And then you say they can stay here? What if ICE was a family member from each of the family members that had somebody killed in their family? And then all the ICE people were people from those families that were killed. What would you say to that? And how long does it go on, President? 10 years, 20 more years, 30 more years? How many years are they going to just be able to keep coming in? Because you said so.
Jill's husband? Amy's husband? General Dojan?
General Dogon, a civil rights organizer on Skid Row with LA Can. And I'm here with other members of our Human and Civil Rights Committee. And basically, we're here today just to show the contradictions that LAPD have when it comes to homelessness, right? You claim posters, billboards all across the city that being homeless is not a crime. If being homeless is not a crime, then why is LAPD criminalizing? Specifically, Central Division captains responding to yuppies, downtown yuppies response, right? Downtown yuppie groups, they little Facebook groups and stuff, right? You're responding to them, having town hall meetings, right, with cops. We see captains in the room, you know, soft-hearted, caressing, stroking white folks, you know, yuppies, you know, assuring them everything gonna be all right. We gonna get them, you know. We gonna write them tickets, exchanging telephone numbers, emails, right? The pounding of the heart. Oh, I got you. You know, whatever happened when the yuppies call, you know, you responding with telling them that, hey, you know, the city is working hard right now. We just got a new shelter, the Mayfair, right? Moving people in, right? Things are happening. You know, we ask you to be calm this time. You know, be patient. You know, not send Adam 12 down there, you know, instead of me to throw folks against the wall, writing folks tickets, right? I wanted to talk to the sheriff here. Donaldson, hope he was here, because, you know, it was a contradiction that when the sheriffs police some of the homelessness in LAPD. I remember when I was a youth growing up in South Central, I lived born in the county jail, black man, right? And so I remember all the time, every hour, they call it homeless people for release, right? And so I'm like, you know, I'm in there for some real shit, you know? And so I'm wondering, why is homeless people leaving out every hour? And the sheriff, the police tell me, the sheriff, they say, Oh, we don't want them in our jail. They ain't in here for nothing. They just in here just taking space, eating up all our burritos, shitting, talking shit to us. We don't want them to get them out of here. So where's that philosophy at today when you're a sheriff? I mean, when he's an LAPD, they don't have that philosophy now. It's all about moving them out, right? Trying to please the new gentry. I want to remind you that downtown is for everybody, right? Not just the privileged, right? Not just those in loss, right? Next time the Yuppies call, you tell them General Dogon said to rest their fucking neck, all right? They have a Coke and a smile, shut the fuck up and go pick up their dog shit off the city of Los Angeles.
Grace?
You sit here pretending to be the guardians of the city, but every line item on this agenda exposes what you really are: a propaganda machine, a cover-up crew, and a front for state violence. Let's start with items 3E and 3F, another $40,000 dumped into consultants and messaging, on top of the $600,000 plus already burned. You're not investing in community safety, you're buying a PR illusion. You're hemorrhaging public trust, your recruitment is collapsing, and yet you think a slick, unrivaled campaign aimed at 21 to 35-year-olds on Reddit, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram will erase decades of brutality. The younger generation sees through your lies. In your own report, 4 in 10 rate your performance as poor, only 2 in 10 as good. This isn't a morale problem, it's a violence problem. Policing doesn't have a PR issue, it has a legitimacy crisis. Every dollar you spend on branding, every consultant you hire is a dollar spent on rebranding terror as trust. This is counterinsurgency. Propaganda is your weapon, and our communities are your target. And now we have Teresa Sanchez Gordon, the so-called civilian oversight president. You parade your immigrant story, claiming you almost got deported to lend credibility to your office. But instead of protecting the people you claim to represent, you enforce the very machinery that tears immigrant families apart. You silence dissent, cutting off over 16 community members for speaking for 2 weeks straight. That's not oversight, it's censorship. You absolutely have the power to cut off one of LAPD's most pervasive tentacles, its information sharing pipeline with ICE and federal agencies. Instead, you're helping deliver immigrant kids on a platter to federal enforcement. Teresa, you wield your identity like a shield while sanctioning violence, greenlighting every dollar, every technology, every campaign to make murderers look like heroes. You are a traitor to your own people, to your own community, and a mouthpiece for the police state. And that applies to all of you. Maybe not Django, maybe your ancestors were part of the KKK. And let's be clear, this just isn't about dollars or optics. LAPD claims to be modernizing, innovating, and connecting with the public, but all you're doing is doubling down on a system designed to control, punish, and terrorize. You hide behind slogans while families grieve, while youth are criminalized, while the communities suffer under your violence. No consultant can spin away the blood on your hands. Your legitimacy is crumbling because the people of LA are awake, they're watching, and they're organizing. Every glossy ad is a confession because you know the truth about yourselves and you fear the people know it too. This board has never been about safety, transparency, or justice. It has always been about laundering violence through PR, through branding, and through assimilationist figureheads like Teresa Sanchez Gordon and Errol Southers and all of you on this board. Your propaganda may be polished, but it cannot cover the rot at the core, that policing is violence and abolition is inevitable.
Quinn?
To start, we submitted a public records request a couple weeks ago asking where LAPD's new real-time crime centers will be and when they'll open. What we received back was that there are, quote, unusual circumstances that are seemingly preventing the public from accessing this information. At City Council, here, everywhere, you all talk and brag about your new real-time crime centers, and simultaneously you close up like a fucking clam and refuse to let the public know about the violent reality of RTCCs. So where are our records? Why can't we know where real-time crime centers are active, and why can't we know which divisions have them already? What are you trying trying to hide. This is not so dissimilar from the robot dog that you released a report about. Spot, or the QUGV, is a robot that you all use to do your vicious police work. Spot is a $280,000 extension of your ability to surveil, hunt, and criminalize without even deploying your officers, so that they can sit and eat donuts and watch Spot at work from real-time crime centers that you refuse to tell us about. Furthermore, there seems to be an MOA between LAPD and airport police so that in the aftermath of a critical incident or use of force, LAPD and the airport police employees can receive psychological services to prevent psychological impacts after they hurt someone else in the community. To be clear, that means that after an officer shoots someone, arrests someone, hurts someone, this MOA provides services to that officer, not to those they hurt, not to the families of those they murder. The MOA provides psychological services to killers. The BOPC's role is to rubber stamp and approve the relentless police violence that happens daily in this city, and their MOA demonstrates just how they encourage their officers to enact violence. Now, Teresa, you've been president for what, a month now? Let me ask you, why is LAPD still aiding ICE then? Why is LAPD still sharing information with ICE? Why is LAPD still using AOPR data and then giving it to ICE so that they can hunt, track, surveil, deport, abduct, and criminalize our community members? You feigned concern for so many months, so why is it still happening? The answer is simple. You sold out your people. You sold out my people. You sold out our people, my neighbors, my community members, not yours. You traded the lives of girls like you when you were young for a seat on your fucking throne. You've torn mothers away from their children so that you can fail to use that mic week to week instead of this one. ICE came to your door when you were little and your dad's blue eyes saved you. And so now you have yours, Madam President. You have yours, and you sit idly by while greenlighting, funding, and approving the budget of LAPD and ICE to draw guns, beat, terrorize, and kill. You have been an immigrant, but now you're the deporter, the enforcer, the boogeyman haunting our community. Fuck you. I yield the rest of my time.
Hamid Khan.
Thank you. So on September 25th, there was this headline in the LA Times. She was almost deported as a child. Now she holds a key post overseeing the LAPD. And this flowery article was about Teresa Sanchez Gordon. So just about 8 days ago, this article was published, or seven days ago, 5 days ago, I guess. And the article goes on to what other folks have lifted about her dad's blue eyes and light-skinned and what saved her and all of that stuff. But what's also interesting is that she talks about the fear of when the agents came to her. And just as my comrades have shared, you know, many of us who have lived that life of being undocumented and, you know, just the knock on the door and going through checkpoints and all of that stuff, we understand the fear and the apprehension, and we've seen how things go down. But many of us did not submit to that fuckery. Many of us didn't become a mouthpiece. Many of us didn't become a shock absorber for the system. And many of us, or some of us, or yourself, who even went there, to then claim, where the article goes to show, that you were saying that of particular concern for Sanchez Gordon is the perception that LAPD officers are working closely with federal immigration officers. And then she goes into and talks about the optics of all of that. When little babies are being just like dads and moms taken away from their babies and they're crying, that's not a goddamn optic. That's not a perception. When things are exposed, and we gave you in details that how this operation is happening. We gave you in details in 2 different letters the information sharing environment. Through license plate readers, through social media surveillance, through record management system, through Celebrite, through suspicious activity reporting program, through your joint drug intelligence group, through Flock Safety, through FUSIS, through Peregrine, through FI cards, through the Department of Homeland Security Information Network, fingerprints, and real-time crime center, and on and on and on and on and on. We mapped out the stalker state for you, that this is how you are traced, you're followed, you're stalked, you're hunted, and then you are banished. So this whole claim, this whole teary-eyed claim, this is the drama that we are talking about. That's why when we talk about that this needs to be abolished, this needs to be ending, this is what we mean. Because it is all about ending harm. And you are an agent of harm. You oversee the violence workers. These are all violence workers. Nobody else goes to work loaded up with guns and batons and dogs and tasers and everything else in the world. Shame on you. Just absolutely shame on you.
John Avalos.
Good morning, everybody. John Avalos. I live in Eagle Rock. It's so hard to manage all these concerns that I have. My first one is no, this is not a oversight by the community. Definitely not. Okay, if you want to have your police department meetings, these are police department meetings, and these wonderful, highly paid people in their suits are here. While they're getting paid, they're watching well, this is your meeting, fine. Have a wonderful police meeting, okay? I'm gonna send you a letter, Teresa, and the attorney De La Guerra, he's been here since I started coming. Melina, he's been here since the beginning, the guy at the end. Why do you get to be a consistent presence while everybody else keeps changing? Something is not right about that. Did you get elected into this position of attorney? I don't get it. Who makes sure that you're staying there forever? Keeping control, keeping the system the same. And I'll send you a letter to ask you about all that. The other thing that I want to send a letter about is, what was it? Why? I need an explanation, a letter to answer. Why do you not have these meetings in the community? What's the reason? Are you afraid the people in the community are going to throw chairs at you and throw water bottles at you? Well, that's your fault. Why are the community so mad at you? And you're afraid to go out and talk to them? I need an explanation, because if that's the reason, you're just afraid. I need that in writing. And I will let the world know through these videos on YouTube that you are not answering me. Well, I have a minute. I wanted to paint the picture of the No Kings March. Remember that Saturday No Kings March? I think you had already done a curfew. The curfew was set in place already. Curfew. Well, have curfews been used? How have they been used in history? Anyway, you set up a curfew already, but the sheriff's department over there at the Hall of Justice, where Black Lives Matter had weekly events there, they put up a whole protection for them. Barbed wire in the color of green. Did anybody ever see that? None of you ever saw how they circled the Hall of Injustice with barbed wire on that day, as if we, the protesters, were going to go and attack the Hall of Injustice. And then the bazookas came. And that's my next issue when I see you again. Why and who decided to shoot bazookas at us? There was children in carts.
Madam President, we're at 46 minutes and we have 4 cards left. How would you like to proceed?
No, let the people speak.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Secretary. This concludes public comment. The commission will now take a 10-minute recess. All right, we're going to resume the meeting. And we're going to resume our next agenda item.
We have agenda item.
Here's the warning. Here's the warning. The Board of Police Commissioners cannot conduct an orderly meeting because the people are yelling and disrupting. This creates an actual disruption. If it does not stop immediately, I will order the room cleared pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.9. Because the disruptions have not stopped and the board is unable to conduct an orderly meeting, I am ordering the room cleared pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.9. The room is to be cleared. Good morning, everyone. Okay, Madam Secretary, you will bring the meeting back from recess.
Okay. Madam President, please note that we are back in open session and we will be hearing agenda item 3, consent agenda items. We have agenda item 3A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. Do any commissioners wish to pull any items? Commissioner Shields?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Garcia?
No.
Commissioner Suthers?
Yes, I'd like to pull items 3C, 3F, and 3G, please.
3C, F, and G. Commissioner Sanchez Gordon?
None.
Okay, we will be hearing for a vote items 3A, B, D, E, H, and I. Do we have a motion?
A motion to accept the recommendations on those items.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. We'll be bringing up item 3C. Dr. Dorian on Zoom for the memorandum of agreement between the Los Angeles Police Department and the Department of Airports, Airport Police Division. Give me 1 second to bring him up. Dr. Dorian, you're on.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Dr. Dorian. Thank you for appearing today. I just have a couple of questions regarding the MOU with LA Airport Police. My first question is, who is the current psychological first aid and/or professional clinical debriefing and intervention services provider to LAXPD?
Good morning, Dr. Suthers. It's my understanding that they don't currently have an in-house provider, but that they utilize their benefits through the city of Los Angeles. There was a time where we had an MOA with them, that Behavioral Science Services provided more comprehensive psychological services, but we had to terminate that contract a few years ago due to understaffing and our difficulty in reaching the needs of our own department. This particular MOA is an effort to ensure that we can provide them with the most critical service, and that is psychologists who are law enforcement culturally informed, providing critical incident stress, critical incident debriefing services in the aftermath of job-related incidents. So this is not a comprehensive offering of all psychological services, but primarily to be able to ensure that their officers can be evaluated and returned to duty after uses of force and other major critical incidents.
Thank you. And again, thank you and your staff for the incredible work that you do regarding the sustainability of the wellness of our officers. But you've touched on my concern, and that concern is, as you mentioned in your comment, was understaffing. So my question is, do we have the capacity to support the 1,200 law enforcement, security, and staff personnel serving at LAX and Van Nuys Airport with our current staffing level if we're not able to meet that need for our own people here at LAPD?
Thank you for your kind words and for that consideration. I would say that we are capable of meeting that need so long as it's defined as it is in the current MOA. Thankfully, they do not, at least historically, have a very high degree of uses of force. I was able to reflect on past services to see what the utilization was as it relates to critical incidents via that department. And I believe it's manageable. And frankly, given they are our sister agency and they are not as fortunate as the LAPD to have an in-house service, it feels like a moral obligation that we support our fellow officers there with our services. And I know my entire team is on board with that and very supportive of it. I feel confident we'd be able to meet the need.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the collaboration. I certainly appreciate the outreach. What I'd like to ask, Madam President and other members of the commission, is that you come back to us in 6 months to let us know how this is going. 1,200 people is a significant amount of people, and I am concerned about the understaffing level that we already maintain as we take on more people to do what is the right thing in spirit, but may not be the absolute best thing we can do operationally. So thank you.
Makes good sense. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. Which other item did you want to speak on?
And may I add to that request, Madam President, that with regards to the behavioral science services, that we get a presentation from them to talk about both their resources and all of the different services that are being provided, because they really are a model for other agencies. And I'd like us to fully understand the services that they're providing and whether they have any shortages of resources or what their needs may be. This may be a good opportunity for us to learn about them more. And thank you, Dr. Dorian, for all that you do for the department.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think that's a good idea. It's been requested by both the commissioners that a 6-month report be presented to the commission, specifically addressing the resources and any other services that the behavior science services provides. So we'll calendar that, Doctor, and we'll have that presentation in about 6 months.
It'd be my pleasure. Thank you.
We move on to the next one, Madam Secretary.
Are we voting on agenda item 3C to approve it for now? Oh, no. Okay, do we have a motion on the floor to approve agenda item 3C?
Yes, there's a motion to approve 3C on the agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item 3F, and we have Assistant Chief Choi relative to the donation valued at $20,000 from the Los Angeles Police Foundation for consultancy services.
Thank you.
Commissioner Suthers?
Thank you, Madam Secretary and Madam President. Chief, thank you. So we're discussing a consultancy service that's going to develop a forward-looking integrated communications plan that strengthens messaging, builds trust, supports officer morale. And the goal here is to enhance the department's brand recognition, enlarge the national digital footprint of the department, and ensure consistency across all media platforms. So my concern, without having any additional information, is this a need or a request that the department made for this kind of consultancy?
I believe it is a need. This position, again, like you said, it's a 4-month consulting period. This person will come in and analyze what we currently have internally, our assets, what our media relations is doing, what our PIOs are doing, what our social media platforms look like, and some of the initial actionable items that are going to happen during this period is going to be obviously the assessment of our overall media, internal, external communications, what films or short stories we can produce. He would edit those type of products, update our social media imagery to create a consistent look and plan for, there's so many different, as you know, so many different social media and other type of digital accounts that this department has, to establish some consistency. So as the viewer opens up a link, immediately it's recognizable as an approved, authentic LAPD account, because right now we're kind of all over the map. So there's several things that will happen during this period, and then this person will offer some unique insight to the department as far as how to move forward to continue and expand our footprint, both internally in a positive way as well as externally in a positive way.
Well, thank you. So my concern is as we sit in what is arguably the number one location in the world as it relates to marketing, outreach, Hollywood, and as far as the state is concerned, with a tech capability that probably rivals most countries, I just want to know, not having any information about this consultant, was there a bid process to determine who these people are, and are they the best person to do this?
We believe there is. There was no bid process, but I will give you some background. This person is an Academy Award-winning filmmaker, writer, director, whose work combines cinematic storytelling with a deep understanding of public service. The Academy Award was for a documentary regarding the Twin Towers years ago. There was recently an update called Twin Towers Legacy that just had a premiere. He's been involved as the executive producer on various series, Jack Ryan, Training Day, Ice, Reef Break, Agent X, Numbers, Ironside. The list goes on. This person in this department's position, as well as the foundations who's providing this donation, is that this person of this experience and caliber that is willing to do the work that is proposed within the constraints of what funding is available cannot be found elsewhere.
Well, thank you. And again, my concern is that the information you just provided, which is extremely helpful, is not stated anywhere in the approval memo that we've received from the Office of the Chief of Police. So without that information, it's very difficult to make a decision. And I think that's essential information that should have been concluded or included. What will the deliverable actually be? I've seen many of these projects. I'm at a major university where these kinds of things start with a proof of concept objective, and they can go on forever. What's the deliverable in this particular project that they're going to do for LAPD? And my concern is anybody who comes to this department realizes that if they list us as a client, the other 18,000 agencies in the country will follow our lead. So I want to make sure that we're picking the right person for the right reason, that no one else could do this, and it's going to be done with a deliverable that we can put our fingers on.
So, I mean, so there's there's a lot of actionable items that will produce different things. For example, the assessment will reveal where we need to improve, what we need to either downsize or increase as far as how we do our media, how we do our, I won't call it marketing because we, as you know, we have a marketing firm, but as we do our outreach and labeling and rebranding of the organization. So you'll see our social media look, our imagery change, become more consistent. You could see short video clips of things that we do that are used to publicize the good work of our officers on a day-to-day basis. His input into editing things that we already do. And also, as you know, there are a lot of, quote, other producers, other people that want to do either documentaries, films, whatever, with LAPD, like everybody does. But his input into guiding and helping what's valuable, what's not valuable, what needs to be included, not included, those types of things will be very helpful in directing this department in what to engage with and what not to engage with. So it's a variety of deliverables. And so we're excited to have him on board if this is approved.
Well, thank you. And Madam President and Madam Secretary, if I may merge these two because they are related, items 3F and 3G. My concern with the second half of this, which is 3G, is that incidental expenses and resources, that dollar amount matches the actual services for consultancy. I've been a consultant for many years and consulted to countries all over the world in my incidental expenses and resources not to exceed never matched my services, and I'm concerned about that. It seems a little bit extraordinary, and I'm just pointing that out, unless there's something we don't know, even if it's cross-continental travel, where it would match the 20,000 to do the project and then 20,000 to travel for the project. I just find that extraordinary. So with that, I have no further questions, Madam President.
Thank you, Commissioner Vice President. All right, any questions from any other commissioner? Commissioner Garcia?
None.
Commissioner Burgess?
Just Chief Choi, so for the consulting, is it for a designated period of time of, was it like 4 months or so? And is it anticipated that it will be extended for another period, or is it anticipated that all the deliverables will conclude after 4 months?
This, yes, it's a 4-month consulting period. There is no plans to extend the consulting period for more than 4 months at this point.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I do have a comment, Chief. I think that the value of what the mission is on this is pretty reasonable. To extend the footprint of LAPD in a positive way, and especially after we witnessed all the heroic efforts that were celebrated last week at the Above and Beyond. I think it's important that our community see all the good work, that they showcase the good work of the officers. So I think that the value on both F and G are so worthwhile, and I welcome the update of social media imagery, and to really see the authentic LAPD is important. So I think that that's all my comment. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion on the floor to accept agenda items 3F and G?
The motion is to accept the recommended action for item 3F and 3G.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Madam Secretary, I'm going to abstain from the vote.
Abstain? Okay.
Okay. So be it, but just understand that my intent is to abstain. If that means it's a yes, then it's a yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. We will now hear agenda item 4A, verbal presentation, active bystandership for law enforcement, ABLE training. And we have Deputy Chief Embrick and Director Datro.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Buttergun, Chief Choi, Mr. Sibley. And I also wanted to introduce my partner, Director of Training, Dr. Thomas Datro. And also joining us is Commander Giselle Espinoza from the Office of Operations.
Good morning, everyone.
I want to start off by thanking you for the opportunity to brief you on the Los Angeles Police Department's active bystandership for law enforcement, or ABLE training program. This morning, I'll begin by outlining the department's key accomplishments and progress to date in implementation of ABLE. Following my remarks, my colleague, Dr. Datro, will provide an overview of how the department's ongoing training initiatives have been adopted and integrated the principles of ABLE not only for our current operations, but as a core component of our training strategy moving forward. In 2022, the Los Angeles Police Department adopted ABLE, or Active Bystandership for Law Enforcement, a nationally recognized program developed by Georgetown Law. This program is designed to strengthen peer intervention skills and equip officers with the tools and confidence to step in when necessary. It requires a rigorous 8-hour training course supported by a 130-slide curriculum. Despite the scope and intensity of this effort, we met the objective. By April 2025, over 8,000 sworn personnel were trained and over 1,900 civilians were trained, which is more than 95% of the department. This achievement represents a substantial investment in officer accountability, officer wellness, and community trust. 3 pillars at the core of our mission.
if I may, sir, just to highlight something, the numbers you have here strongly agree that the training was worthwhile, it was professional, it was accepted. You're upwards of 96%. Of the 95 people, thank you, of the 95 people that we trained, 95% that we trained, 96% agreed or strongly agreed that this was a worthwhile endeavor. That's going to come into play a little bit later when I get to talk a little bit more about what we're doing in the future, sir.
So why we transitioned away? Once the initial rollout was complete, we shifted our focus to long-term sustainability and continuous improvement. Throughout that evaluation, several important considerations emerged. First, staffing within training division decreased compared to 2022, requiring us to be more strategic on how we deliver the training. Second, the structured format of the ABLE program limited our flexibility to adapt the curriculum as the department priorities evolved. Third, the training remained resource-intensive, requiring full days from deployment for thousands of officers. Finally, the feedback from our officers showed that many recognized the material as principles they were already putting into practice, highlighting the strength of our existing culture and training foundation. Taking all of this into account, we made a strategic decision to evolve beyond ABLE as a reoccurring standalone program, instead to integrate its most important elements into a broader and more sustainable training model. Slide. ABLE training may have ended, but it's not gone. At this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Datro, who would discuss how these principles are being advanced and embedded into the department's ongoing training strategy.
Thank you, sir. So ABLE was very unique in its concept and its delivery. First off, it integrated civilians and sworn into the same classroom. Secondly, it also integrated civilians and sworn as the instructors. This had a profound impact on really coalescing the department together and giving them one consistent theme that they could gather around. So we're not abandoning this. I don't want anyone to think that just because we're not doing standalone ABLE training, it's abandoned. It's now integrated. And while it's not perfect, we find ways and we find areas to ensure that the concepts of ABLE and its core mission to prevent misconduct, to prevent mistakes, and to promote officer wellness are woven in. So you'll see things like peer accountability that we weave in all the way from recruit training all the way through to command staff. You'll see this in leads and command development. Early intervention principles, that's something that's been there. This was just reinforced by ABLE, which is why you see officers appreciated it because they didn't feel as though they were being told something newer that they weren't doing. They actually appreciated it because they felt reinforced by what they were doing. Wellness is now quickly becoming much more robust, as is evident by what Dr. Dorian was saying before in the presentation he's going to give soon. Wellness is much more, I would say, noticeable throughout the department. So I leave you with this slide. The spirit of ABLE is here. It's not going away. You'll see it in our intervention training. You'll see it in our de-escalation training. You'll see it in our mottos and the idea of integrity in all we say and do and quality through continuous improvement. We're going to continue to improve ABLE. So bottom line, sir, is you okay if I just recap? The bottom line is we did hit 95% of the department. That's an incredible goal. That's not 95% sworn. That's sworn and civilian. And I was just having some conversations with civilian staff members, my new colleagues, to say that they still use ABLE as a term. Oh, you'll hear things like, I had to able that individual, or I was abled. That tells me this is now woven into a culture that is the LAPD. The transition, obviously it's necessary. Staffing, time, priorities, it's difficult to do this. But take heart, we're not leaving it. We're not walking away from it. We're just infusing it everywhere up and down the chain. So it's not just its solo training. It's there all the time, and that's how we're gonna maximize our training resources and our ability to touch everyone on the department. You're gonna see this in scenario-based exercises, command staff exercises, integrated wellness and ethics decisions. Those are just some of the areas you're gonna see ABLE woven in. Excuse me. Examples of times when we introduced training and we moved away from it. We had an extensive training with body-worn videos. Late activation was a big deal. We had to train on that all the time. We've moved away from that because it's now infused. Late body-worn activation is now an exception. It's not the rule. De-escalation was something we talked about consistently all the time. Now it's part of who we are and what we do. seatbelt, pursuits, taser, all these things were once standalone trainings to get the idea of the department to coalesce behind them. We did it, we were successful, so we got to move away from them and now integrate these ideas and concepts into training. I say this to you as somebody who went through ABLE in 2020. I saw the value of this 2 years before the department brought it in. I went on my own and got certified. I taught it at other agencies. I believe in it, and I believe in its tenets, and I believe in the science that Dr. Staub uses to explain, our inhibitions and the cognitive phenomena that happens. I'm not someone that doesn't like it. I like it. And I, as your director of training, am going to make sure it doesn't go away. It will be woven in to all of our training at anywhere I see fit and anywhere that it makes sense. With that, I'm excited. If you have any questions, we'd like to address them.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I believe Dr. Southers asked for this report. You want to proceed with your first question?
Sure. Thank you, Madam President, and thank you for the presentation, and thank you for the good work. First, I want to commend you, first of all, on the fact that you've integrated sworn and civilian. That's excellent. It's about time. And any opportunities we have to do that, I think we should do that more often. It's one family, and they need to be trained and educated and become engaged in that manner. The question I have is, with all of this work you're doing and the success that you've seen so far, is there some thought to incentivizing this further, perhaps with an ABLE award? Is there such a thing? I'm sure that this happens every day, probably several times a day, so I don't want to overwhelm us with trying to acknowledge people, but in some instances we really should. And I'm just wondering if that's been in any of your thoughts as you move forward with the program.
Sir, that's a good suggestion that we're going to discuss following this meeting. But we do have something similar right now, and that is the life-saving medal, which I think is the ultimate expression of the ABLE principles. But we can talk about it further because it doesn't always need to be to the level of life-saving, but I think the department should consider it.
It would be great to do, especially because ABLE is about prevention. It's those little conversations you have in the locker room before you go out. Hey, I notice you're a little upset. I notice you're a little tired. It's preventing it from happening. So it would be neat if we could figure out a way to highlight that.
Thank you. Again, if this, as you've mentioned, is becoming woven into the culture of the department, I think anything that we can do to enhance that potential or facilitate that activity, we should do.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you again.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions from any other commissioner? Commissioner Gerges?
Thank you. First of all, great presentation, and I was one of the 1,900 civilians who sat through the 8-hour training. It felt a little like, undercover boss, but it was very eye-opening, very enlightening, and I found it extremely valuable. And so I really do hope that this is an integrated concept, not an abandoned concept. And I do think, even sitting around some of the room when we're talking about certain videos that we see, we'll say, that's an ABLE situation right there. And so I don't want us to lose that from our vocabulary, because there are opportunities to learn and identify when someone did step up or someone should have stepped up to intervene. And I think really one of the most valuable parts of the training are seeing some of the videos, both in terms of, there are times when someone maybe needs to tap out because their buttons are getting pushed. There are certain people might push someone else's buttons, and if you see that, you step in, help your partner out. And so this is really just about avoiding a situation and helping your partner not get into anything that could be avoided just with cooler heads. I think that's a very valuable lesson that I think relates. But another part of it that I thought was very valuable is the younger officer or more junior officer seeing someone doing something that actually isn't accurate, right? And the one that stuck with me is like an older officer from another department who didn't handcuff the person properly, and that became a dangerous situation, right? And everyone around they kind of knew but didn't want to say, hey boss, you're doing it wrong, right? And so how are we infusing that kind of speak out culture of, you just went through the academy, you know how it's supposed to be done, and you're seeing someone not intentionally doing something unsafe but you have the ability to stand out and correct it. How are we still infusing that, showing these types of videos so people really understand it?
I can take that if that's okay. So there's two instances, and one, if I can, just highlight the idea of the civilians. I believe the civilian integration gives us sort of a foundation, because sworn, we promote, we move, we get transferred. The civilians tend to stay in their spots, so they are the ones that continue that ABLE idea, and I like that. I like having that consistency throughout the department. Two areas I'm gonna highlight to give you some confidence in this. You're familiar with the PSL program that I take very, very seriously. I help develop it, I teach it. We have a section where we ask them, so on probation, have you ever had to intervene with the P3? Did any one of you do this? And the occurrences from when we first started doing this in 2017 to doing it now, you might have one hand go up or two, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Nowadays, many hands go up. And now we make it a learning activity. At your tables, tell us about a time when. And everybody wants to share about how they did it. It's much more prevalent for a probationer to able or to intervene with a training officer. We just see it anecdotally. I don't have a study I could give you, but we see it anecdotally consistently. Every single DP, we never have a class where they don't have a number of stories. So I know that culturally it's more acceptable as a P1, which I couldn't even think of 22 years ago. Number two, in FTO school, an FTO update school, we ensure to touch on this and say when a P1 does this, even if they're wrong, don't correct them. They're doing it for the right reason. Even though they might not see the full picture, even though they don't have as much information as you do, they're doing what they think is right. So don't correct them by way of punitive measures. Explain to them, hey, this is good. If you think I'm doing something wrong, tell me. We incentivize, I would say we ask our P3s, our training officers, accept this. And we continue to do that because it would be very easy for them to have a little bit of hubris and say, you don't know what you're talking about, kid. But instead we say, no, this is why they're doing it. This is what they're being taught, just to remind them. Those are two instances within the department to give you some confidence.
And is this concept also being trained at the academy?
So it is not as ABLE. ABLE is a great program. Again, I support it. It's very specific and very trademarked. So you don't get to take parts of it and use it because it's their own exclusive content. What's not trademarked is the science behind Dr. Staub and his work on inhibition and cognitive phenomena. So we take that and we infuse it in. Now, it might look like duty to intervene or intercede. Those are the language you're going to hear, but it's reinforced through the concepts of the psychological barriers and inhibitors to acting or reacting towards certain things. So it's not there in the classic sense, but it's there in the spirit of.
Commissioner Garcia, any questions?
Yeah, thank you for the overview, and congratulations on getting to such a high number of trained officers and civilians in the department. So question, is ABLE as a concept, you kind of touched on it a little bit because of the trademark, but as a concept, is it still included throughout the department? I know you mentioned pieces of it, but understanding the concept versus remembering inhibition or cognitive, it's such a different way of capturing information.
Absolutely.
So is that still the ABLE word? Will people still be able to reference you got abled, right? And that captures, just saying that potentially reminds them of the 137 slides of training for those officers.
Correct, sir. So what I've tried to do with a lot of my training is the intervention of the neuroscience, how the brain works, how it processes information. I've tried to take our training, move it up to a different level so that they understand how the brain is actually working. And in that little description I give before maybe I do a de-escalation or an intervention class, we touch on these cognitive phenomena. Now, I don't say ABLE, but the class will. The class will say, oh, so basically ABLE. So you'll hear that in class. I don't want to infringe on the copyright of it, so I stick to the science behind what ABLE is, the foundation behind it. So the concepts are there. I let The rank and file writ large, let them talk about ABLE, let them use the word. And I'll say, oh, okay, so you explain, tell me what ABLE is. What do you remember about it? So I'll pull on that so other people can hear it, or my instructors will pull on that as I have this new role. But it is there. I feel confident that it's there because I don't want it to go away. You have somebody as the director of training for all of it. I don't want to see it go away. It's very important.
Yeah, okay. The other question is, will it still be available? And it sounds like maybe not because of trademarking, but if we needed to assign it to someone because they didn't able somebody when they should have, is that training still an option in the department?
So as a training program, it's not. But I have done what's called peer interventions post-incident. So maybe there's an incident that almost rose to the level of a problem, and a captain will call and say, hey, can you talk to this? Can you explain to them? It doesn't rise. I don't want to give them a complaint. I don't want to give her a comment card. I just want her to understand, or I want him to understand how close this could have gone. So I don't want to say we're piloting, but we're trying new approaches so that these concepts can be spoken of more of a one-on-one basis. I wouldn't want to just send someone to ABLE. It's just going to be a long day, and they might have their hands folded. But if I could address it and then talk about, we watch the video, we see the cognitive responses, you see the emotional reactions, and we could pause and we could talk about these things. So it's much more customizable when we embrace it on our own, as opposed to ABLE being very rigid. I think that's a benefit for us.
The other question is, before I give an opinion, is will there be, or do you foresee the need of maybe revisiting a training
like a refresher?
Curriculum every 5 years so that it remains within the culture of the department?
I mean, I'll jump in, but please.
So I think Dr. Datro has done a really good job at focusing in on the principles and making sure that it just doesn't stand alone by itself, so like it's important today, but it's integrated into all of the training that we do. So not only from day one when you become a recruit, but all the way through, like he mentioned, to be coming to your command officer courses, that these principles are so important that they're covered inclusive of all of the training that we do.
Yeah, I want to give you confidence in this. It's similar to if an officer got into a TC and they weren't wearing a seatbelt. Like we know, they know. I wouldn't send them back to the below 100 training to talk about this, but we would address it. We would certainly address it to ensure, and I'm doing my absolute very best to make sure it does not fade away.
Okay, so I would recommend that the department explore a way to capture ABLE in another way.
Yes, sir.
That doesn't get into trademark or copywriting issues, so that it could be referenced or pointed to should an officer need it. Right? You mentioned body worn cameras and how the training isn't necessary anymore because it's the exception when officers don't do that. So, but it's still a concept that's just easy to capture, and there's a clear, this is when it's on, this is when it's not.
Yes.
But intervention is hard to capture if you use that word, if it's not a concept that includes components and pieces of what actual intervention is defined as, when and who should be doing that intervention. So if there's a way we can still keep that in the department, that would be, I think, beneficial.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other question? I do have a comment. I'm very pleased to hear that Commissioner Shields participated in that 8-hour program. I think it makes a huge difference. And I'm going to also quiz her a little bit more because I want to know more about her experience, but I think it helps us all as commissioners to really kind of see what's happening and immerse ourselves in that experience. So I'm glad you did that. I wish I would have done that. But to follow up on the other questions, you used the word infused, and I think the principles, as mentioned, the accountability, the trust, the wellness of the officers is so key. And I just want to make sure that despite what's happening with ABLE, you have it, you don't have it, that it truly is infused in the general training of our officers, because those are strong principles. And I think it just creates a more positive experience within the department, and wellness is so key to all the officers. So I congratulate you on that. It was a very interesting and well prepared presentation. Do we need any more information on that, Dr. Southers? Okay, well, thank you so much for your time here.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughtful questions.
Next, we have agenda item 4B. And that is the department's report relative to audit number 25-001, continuing professional training and perishable skills program. And we have Police Administrator Sargent.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm Sharon Sargent, Commanding Officer of Audit Division. Today I have with me Police Performance Auditor Joel Cortez and also Commander Embrick and Commander Giselle Espinosa. Today I'm here to share with you a brief overview of an audit on continuing professional training and perishable skills. This was conducted as part of our 2025 annual audit plan. As a quick reminder, law enforcement officers throughout the state are adhering to minimum standards established by POST, that's Peace Officer Standards and Training. This entity sets the standards for selection, training, and ongoing professional development to help ensure consistent quality and professionalism of police officers. So for this particular audit, we looked at the 2023-2024 training cycle, and we focused on two main areas. The first was whether lieutenants and below completed 24 hours of continuing professional training, 18 hours of which was perishable skills. And the second area that we looked at is whether reserve police officers levels 1 and 2 completed their 24 hours of continuing professional training. So the report shows the department compliance ranged between 76% and 98%. The department entities involved in this audit were Office of Operations and Training Bureau. Both are in general agreement with the audit's findings, and we are happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions?
I think that there were some, I'm just trying to understand the results of your findings, that a number of the individuals that had not completed the training, they were kind of like injured on IOD, you know, at that time. So are they exempt from completing the requirements?
Yes, in many cases. So like one of the requirements is firearms. So folks who are off IOD, they may have restrictions which prevent them from shooting or going onto the range. And many of them are assigned at home, therefore making the training unobtainable for them. But the moment that they do get back, they go, if they're gone for more than a year, they undergo a reintegration training. And we catch them up with their CPT training. These training cycles are 2 years. So hope if they fall within that training cycle, we will catch them up as soon as possible.
And then I think another percentage, I don't know how big of a percentage, they were unable to confirm because they just didn't respond to outreach. What are we doing about those individuals?
Are you referring to specifically the reserves? Because we're very proud with the accomplishment with the other inspectable areas in which they were over 95%. But I think you may be talking about the reserves where we had 76% compliance, and we're very concerned about that because we'd like to also bring it up to 95. So I wanted to commend, first of all, Commander Giselle Espinosa for increasing that compliance rate, which was about in the 20s. But under her leadership, the reserve program's done a lot of work to bring that compliance rate up to 76%. And Commander Espinosa, do you want to address some of the improvements that you guys made?
Yes, so we focused a lot more on the accountability and having the systems in place to track any failures in compliance with training. Of some of the folks that were non-compliant, one was an administrative error, some were injured on duty, or at least that was a classification. So, a few have completed it now. Some left the department, some were inactive, and some were in the process of resignation. So there has been great improvements made. It is a very dynamic population of family members, LAPD family members that have full-time jobs. So sometimes, that presents some challenges in getting them to comply with the requirements, but the effort is there, the tracking mechanisms are there, and as soon as we're able to get them into compliance, we do. And there was a concerted effort to increase those compliance rates. And like the good chief said, we are shooting for the 95 percentile, which I believe will be accomplished.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, getting back to your original question. So the people who are non-responsive, those reserve officers were processed out of the program for non-responsiveness.
Wonderful, thank you so much. And let's aim for 100%, and if we hit 95, we'll take that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Any other question? Officer Espinosa, what are some of the usual reasons why an employee would fall out of compliance?
So some of the things that I already mentioned, some are either separating, some have other responsibilities outside of the LAPD. And I know before I came on the department in the early 90s, I was a reserve myself. So I was in compliance, but I can see how people could find it difficult to get in here when they have to support families or, be responsive to their full-time jobs. That can be an issue, but some of them are also in the process of separating. Some have already completed the training, so that 76% might be higher at this point. So it runs a gamut of reasons why the non-compliance is there. But as I mentioned, we continue to refine our systems in place to make sure we track and we hold accountable with a backdrop of achieving that 100% compliance rate.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions?
You're welcome,
No?
ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much for your report. Madam Secretary?
Do we have a motion to accept the recommendation, which is to approve the department's report for 4B?
Yes, there's a motion to accept the recommended action for continuing professional training and perishable skills program audit.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next, we will hear agenda item 4C relative to the quadruped unmanned ground vehicle yearly inspection report for fiscal year 2024 through 2025. And we have Deputy Chief Kowalski.
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, Inspector General, Chief Choi, Mr. Sibley, Vice President Southers, Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Shields, and our City Attorney. I'm here to present on the quadruped unmanned ground vehicle yearly inspection report. The period covers July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. During the inspection period, there were 4 instances where the QUGV was deployed during armed encounters with suspects. Each incident met the criteria for deployment and approved in accordance with Administrative Order Number 6, that's dated May 30th, 2023. The 4 deployments presented unique challenges and environments that tested the capabilities of our SWAT technology. These incidents presented obstacles and barriers that our traditional robotics would not be able to overcome, to include closed doors, cluttered living spaces, and terrain that limited utilizing other robotics or drones in those areas. In one situation, the QUGV served as a pathfinder to clear an area for our personnel to enter the location. Overall, the deployments of the QUGV allowed our operators additional tactical options and better situational awareness of the suspect's actions in real time. The purpose of acquiring this technology was to better protect our officers and the community by de-escalating dangerous situations in the safest manner possible and providing our tactical operators more options to improve the likelihood that these incidents end peacefully. We've also continued to work with the manufacturer, Boston Dynamics, and other law enforcement agencies around the country to review their deployments to assess best practices. And I'm prepared to answer any questions you have regarding this report.
Thank you, Chief Kowalski. It's nice to see you again. Thank you for the report. Can you explain the tactical advantages to the department possessing this quadruped unmanned ground vehicle, and what does that look like?
Well, the benefit of the LAPD SWAT team as it stands in 2025, over the years, we've really enhanced our capabilities beyond just having lethal and less lethal options to resolve an incident peacefully. And that obviously includes our work in crisis negotiation to try to resolve an incident peacefully through verbal means. But if we do have to elevate to a situation where we're using tactical options to apprehend a suspect or gain compliance, having a technology cadre within SWAT is very important. And to just talk about that and where that leads to using the QUGV as a potential option. We have 16 police officers that are trained in the technology cadre. All 16 officers have been trained to use the QUGV in situations that meet the criteria. And within that scenario, if we are to use, say, some of the robotics that we have, so we have we have 4 mini caliber I-Core T3s, we have an I-Core T5, we have throwable robotics. So what that means in simple terms is we do have a variety of robotics that we use beyond just the QUGV. So in many scenarios, as we're assessing situations, obviously the environment and every incident is very different. And so our tactical operators who are making decisions at these scenes will assess what is the best use of technology. That could be a drone to look at an area where a suspect might be concealing himself, or it could be a different type of ground robotic. Now, in the situations where we use a QUGV, there's obviously specific criteria, but generally our uses for them since we acquired the equipment obviously fall into a traditional incident where a suspect has barricaded themselves inside there. But what I think the elements that elevate it, obviously, if you look at the incidents where we have used it, and it's obviously just 4 incidents during the year, you're talking about incidents that have environments that our traditional robots cannot overcome. So you might have a cluttered living space where the suspect's concealed. You may have a yard that's built up with excess items that traditional robotics can't traverse over. And it could also be high brush area where the robotics in the past we've learned get caught. So if you look at even these 4 incidents, some of them I would say if we were to use a different robotic, they probably wouldn't move beyond 10% of the area that we want them to travel to. So they would fail. And so I think where the QUGV comes in is, we try to be very strategic in its use. We try to be judicious because we do have a policy that we follow on that. And we also try to be measured. And what I've seen in the deployments is we have used it in the most appropriate situations. I think, but they're very specific because these are extraordinary circumstances where we use this equipment.
I have another question. You stated that 16 officers were trained specifically on the QUGV. And this last quarter, or this last time period, you used it, it was deployed 4 times. How many QUGVs are there?
We only have 1.
Just 1?
The equipment is obviously a very, very expensive equipment. So at this point, we have 1 as part of our equipment, and 1 is appropriate given the number of uses that we use. And as mentioned, we have other robotics that we also use. So at this point, I think our inventory is appropriate and 1 is sufficient.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Suthers?
Yes. And Chief, thank you for being here this morning. And I want to appreciate the fact that you mentioned that you're always measured when you use this technology. And I'm assuming it's always done in preservation of life, both for suspects, witnesses, and our officers that might be on the scene. My question is, and I have a couple, what's our average time on scene when we've decided that the QU GB is going to be deployed?
Well, I think I can't give you an exact time because what we always try to do is the compliance piece. So in terms of assessing a situation, and again, they're all very different, as you know, sir, but I think the blueprint for us is we take a approach where we're very inclusive and we try to gain allow our crisis negotiation team, CNT, to do their work. And then that's working closely with not just our behavioral sciences psychologist that's on scene, it also includes mental evaluation unit. And we take an approach where we try to evaluate what triggers the suspect is right now in terms of his or her mental state. So we're trying to gain some compliance. We also try to include any potential family members. So there's no timeline on how long crisis negotiations can happen, but at some point during an incident, if we don't gain the compliance, then we will decide collectively, but with the incident commander approval, is we've taken these steps, we haven't gained any communication or compliance, or he or she has demonstrated to us that they're not going to surrender or comply based on either their verbal statements or their actions up to that point, and we will declare what we call an impasse. And then at that point, we start assessing, and again, we'll continue to try to communicate and negotiate even after that impasse has been declared. But now we have to move into more tactical options. And so again, I think if the environment serves appropriately, then we may consider using robotics at that point. And again, I think the value of robotics or even the drone in these situations is we want to give our operators the best situational awareness of what is going on, where that person or persons are, and how we can safely apprehend them, and without placing our officers in that situation where it's dangerous or they have to use lethal force. So we're going to take many different steps to get to that point. So to answer your question, sir, ultimately, I can't give you an exact timeline, but I think what we talk about at these command posts and even after these incidents have concluded in our after action is, was the time that we gave each of the elements of trying to apprehend or gain compliance, was it appropriate? Was it reasonable? Should we have taken more time? And generally, I think we take the appropriate amount of time there to do that.
Well, thank you. And as you know, robotics is always evolving. And I'm just wondering, and obviously I don't want specifics here now, but I'm assuming that each time you deploy, you're considering what advice you might have for the manufacturer with regards to some shortcomings that the unit may have and some changes they can make. Are those conversations still happening with the manufacturer?
Yes, they are. And I think in a previous commission meeting where I talked about the opportunity I had to visit the manufacturer and sit down with their leadership team. And so the communication I have continues. One of the things that they convey to us, and this was early on when we had just acquired the equipment, they said, we want to work with you. We want to hear back from your end users on what is working and what's not working. And the conversations I'm having with our team, both from the captain level at Metropolitan, the lieutenant, the sergeants, and the police officers that work the technology cadre, the conversations that I'm having and we're having is about how effective this equipment is. But what I've learned from those conversations, sir, is that we are in continuous communication with them as much as possible. And even I think every time we deploy, we are giving feedback. For example, we did have an issue on one deployment with the camera, and we learned that we had to do an update similar to a phone. And I think the conversations that we had with Boston Dynamics was very helpful and informative so that we don't repeat that type of mistake. So I think they've continued to do it. It wasn't just, we're going to sell it to you and leave it alone. I think they've been great. And our conversations with other agencies and their use has been helpful as well.
Great. Well, again, thank you, Chief, and any technology we have that ensures preservation of life, I think is a valuable resource that we should continue using. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Rasha Gurgis?
Thank you. So with regards to, I think your report is helpful to highlight some of the benefits of this technology, and particularly, the example of having a barricaded suspect come out and have a pistol visible to the officer manning the QUGV. That can provide very real-time, instant information to the other officers so that they know, what they are facing. And the other example I could see where I could see the use of this is the example of the person who was, had a rifle, and then he was taken into custody, but eventually to kind of clear that space, knowing what we see, happening across the world and stuff, we know that there are times when, suspects like booby trap their locations. And so officers walking into that could be a very unsafe situation. And so is it that, these types of, robots are able to kind of clear that and not put officers in harm's way in a situation like that?
Yes, I think the example you used, one of the 4 incidents that we had, I think the steps that were taken to approach that location to clear it after the suspect had surrendered, there were concerns about how the layout of the area in front of the building was presented, and there was concerns and possibilities that there could be some type of booby trap, and the use of the QUGV as that pathfinder to clear that area. All of our SWAT operators know they took this position knowing that they may be faced with dangerous situations, and they understand and expect that. But if we can minimize that, even just a small portion, by clearing an area like this, we're going to do it. And I think that's been a force multiplier for us in many ways. So that's a great example you point out, ma'am.
And given that, this is a yearly inspection and it was used 4 times, and we're talking about pretty expensive equipment, do you think that is the appropriate amount of uses, or are there other instances where, the SWAT team or others have wanted to use it but are kind of being prevented from doing so given the existing policy? I'm thinking of this as similar to kind of drone technology, where we start off very small, but there can be benefits that are used. And I'm just wanting to see whether we think this is the right balance that we're having right now, or is this something where you are seeing situations you would like to use it, but aren't able to?
Yeah, as Vice President Southers mentioned about the conversations that we're having with end users, these are the conversations that I'm continuously talking about and asking. And I think determining the number of deployments, it is a big discussion point. I don't know what the right number is, obviously. And on one hand, it's easy to say, well, we'd like to see it deployed 20 times a year versus 4. But I think in my understanding, and again, working with the technology cadre, we want them to be comfortable with using the equipment that's most appropriate for each situation. So we have empowered them. We also have expressed the question of whether we should be using it more. I've seen that in the 2 years that we've had it, we really haven't had any violations. Obviously, in terms of the policy, we followed it. But at the same time, as you mentioned in your question, streamlining the approval process, I think that's worth a discussion as we move forward. And similar to the drone policy, I think we're seeing the increase in deployments of drone uses because of that. And I think there are many similarities in terms of when the drone policy was a pilot program to where it is now. And I think with the QUGV, I think that's where we can move to, ma'am.
And we always want it to be a very measured approach, an appropriate approach, not necessarily increasing it for the sake of increasing by any means. But we also want you to have all of the tools and technology available to you to address the ongoing, issues that the department faces, especially given the shortage of officers that we have. And so to the extent this is something that you are seeing and you identify another area where you believe that this tool can be used responsibly and appropriately, but doesn't fall directly within the policy, I would like that to be reported back to us. And also, to the extent you're seeing a delay in the delivery of this tool because of certain approval processes and think that there's some additional movement there, that would be something I think that the commission can consider as well.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate that, and we're certainly will open that discussion and look at the policy.
Commissioner Garcia?
Thank you for the report and the update. Regarding the lessons learned, are there any specific lessons learned that have been sort of easily translated into improved training that you can share?
Yeah, looking at it took us, it was a 2-year process to acquire this for a variety of reasons. I think the initial concern was because I think the public outcry by its use in other cities was a concern. And I know there were groups and individuals that had concerns about us acquiring this equipment because they thought we were going to use it for the wrong reasons. And I think we've demonstrated and shown that that's not the case. I think we're promoting it very well in its use. I think in terms of when the beginning we acquired it, I didn't see anything. There were no major deficiencies by our operators. I think they generally jumped in and learned the technology. I think as stated earlier, I think what's benefited us is speaking regularly to the manufacturer and also looking at all those incidents around the country that have occurred. Like there was an incident in Massachusetts. Their state police has this equipment. The QUGV was actually shot with a handgun by the suspects, and it ended up still being able to, even though it couldn't move, it was still able to film and record, and it still allowed the police to have situational awareness of that suspect and then safely apprehend him. I think those examples have shown us that there are many capabilities to this equipment, and I think the other lesson learned is I think very slowly over the 2 years, our operators are becoming more and more comfortable with its use. I think one of the incidents here listed talks about the use of the thermal imaging, and what's unique again about the QUGV versus other robotics is that thermal imaging is something that our other robotics do not have. And our operators who use this it's like a console or a tablet they use to operate. I think that allowed them to identify one suspect inside that was hiding under blankets because of the thermal imaging that we see. So I think the tool has given our operators even more confidence, but not careless. And I think they're being safe in its use. And I think little by little more we're gonna become even more proficient with it.
Thank you. And you mentioned an example. That was going to be my next question. Is there that peer learning opportunity? And it sounds like there is already.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, commissioners, for your excellent questions on this issue. And Chief Kowalski, thank you again for your report.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. At this time, I move that the Board of Police Commissioners approve the Los Angeles Police Department's yearly report, fiscal year 2024-2025, on the quadruped unmanned ground vehicle, and that the board also transmit to the Los Angeles City Council the biannual report on the QUGV program as directed in this motion. Madam Secretary?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. With no other items on the agenda, do we have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn?
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, this concludes this meeting. Thank you.